Well, let's face it, he wasn't exactly a handsome guy. In fact, he looked a lot like the kid on Mad Magazine, Alfred E. Newman. But when David Letterman signed off this week, he capped a career of more than 3 decades as a late-night television host, a career so iconic and ironic that a cavalcade of presidents weighed in on his departure.
My fellow Americans, our long national nightmare is over.
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 Our long national nightmare is over. Letterman is retiring.
You're just kidding, right?
Well, Eddie Brill is a comedian with a unique perspective on Letterman's impact. You not only recruited talent for his late night show, you also warmed the studio audience up for the shows itself. It must have been a fantastic job.
Oh, it was sweet. You know,
17
first
years,
of all,
right?
Ed Sullivan Theater is the iconic theater, and I've done hundreds of television shows around the world as a performer. It's the best theater I've ever done, and I'm standing on the stage where the Beatles were and Elvis Presley and the Supremes, and it was.
And for about 17 years.
17 years, I was
goodness.
every night on that incredible stage.
You know, look, 3 decades of David Letterman, and you know, he's known worldwide, of course, perhaps most for his top 10 list.
Right.
I guess the question here is, that he steps down after all this time. I've said it's got to be bittersweet, Eddie. I mean, he never did get the Tonight Show, which he really wanted. That caused some friction between him and Carson, of course, between him and
No, there was
Leno.
never friction between him and Carson.
Really?
Carson loved him. In fact, Carson's top writers, Mulholland and Barry, still wrote for Dave all the years. Johnny used to write jokes for Dave all the time. I remember when Johnny passed away, Dave did a whole monologue of Johnny jokes that Johnny had sent in. So their friendship was incredible. There was never tension there at all.
Okay, so basically then, so him stepping down now, his retirement, so to speak, that he's looked back at his career and I guess he's say, look, you know, a job well done, and you can move on with no regrets.
But, you know, at the same time, it's like this incredible job that you get to go to and you're used to it, and it's a comfortable suit you wear every day, you know, sort of life suit that you wear every day. And I think he regrets it too, to not be there. But I kind of thought it was wrapped up really beautifully. It was very classy, like he is, and people came out of the woodwork to come, and you know, Chris Rock and Adam Sandler, and you know, on people came on, Julia Roberts, just to say we loved you, you were important to our lives, and thank you for being that guy, the guy who held up the integrity. You know, it wasn't interviews where he was putting people down. It was interviews where he was giving people the integrity again that they deserved.
You know, look, you're here on a Rise Review, and we want gossip here, Eddie. We want
I
gossip.
know you do. Of course
he was
you
a
do.
comedian, seemed like a nice guy. But was he an exacting boss? Was he tough?
Of course, he was tough for the fact that his name's on the marquee. His name's on the show. Late Show with David Letterman. He demanded that everyone be the best at what they do, or else. His cameraman was Walter Cronkite's cameraman. We had the best lighting people. We had the best executive producers. We had Harvard writers. You know, it just was a place where the standard was so high that he demanded it to be that way. And what boss wouldn't you want? And I was proud to take my game to that level as well.
Sure. Well, talk to us about it, perhaps the embarrassing moments.
You know, the funny stuff was more like, say, when Rod Blagojevich was on, and Dave says, "What are you doing here?" And Rod said, "I wanted to be on this show in the worst possible way." And Dave said, "Well, you got your wish." You know, that was really fantastic. That was the funniest moment I've ever seen. But on the other hand, you had 9/11 when Dave came on television and said, and he welcomed us back. And that's a broadcaster. That, you know, Dick Cavett, Johnny Carson, Steve Allen, David Letterman, these are broadcasters, and we don't have that anymore. We have a bunch of, you know, it's a different scenario now.
Well, you know, in the top 10 list, you know, some people say one of the top 10 was post 9/11, where he said it's okay to laugh again. Apparently, for many people, that was a healing moment in this country. I want to move forward here for a second, then step back.
Okay.
Stephen Colbert coming in. People might look at that and scratch their head. A different kind of comedian, a different genre.
Well, you've only seen a character that he plays. The Colbert Report was not Stephen Colbert being Stephen Colbert. You know, it's like if David Letterman was a movie actor and then all of a sudden now he's a host, he'll be a different kind of a person. Colbert is a very talented comedian, writer. He was on the Dana Carvey show for years, being, you know, when they did that. He's also a great dancer and a musician. So hopefully he'll bring that kind of talent to the show. And people are thinking, well, we're going to get this guy who's a Democrat who's making fun of Republicans. That's just stuck in people's minds.
Well, I guess that's the whole thing, because David Letterman, although he was hugely popular, not everybody endeared themselves to him. He had basically a certain following.
Well, isn't that beautiful? You know, in this world, in comedy, like, you know, Richard Pryor was the greatest comedian of all time, and a lot of people didn't endear themselves to him, but comedians did. And you don't need to have, if you're pleasing the lowest common denominator, the most people, you're probably not a really talented actor comedian. Yeah. Where David Letterman had a smaller audience, but a smarter, not elite audience, but a smarter and a silly audience that didn't take things so seriously.
Lastly here, you don't believe that David Letterman, this is it. We'll see him again someday.
I hope so, because his brain is so sharp, and it's still sharp, and I'd love to see him produce other shows. That would be beautiful.
Okay, well, Eddie Brill, I got to tell you, it's great to see you here.
Yeah, thanks very, very much. It's really nice to see you.
And we just did a little walk down memory lane with David Letterman.
That's wonderful. Julian, it's a pleasure.
You got it. All right.